They called Earth a death world. Not as an insult, not as exaggeration, but as a formal classification in galactic records. A planet where everything tries to kill you. And the dominant species? They learned how to smile through it. I am Commander Drexa Kalan of the Vorkai. Farms. Acid-resistant hide. A species forged on Vor Prime, a world where rain burns skin and the ground itself seems to hate existence. We are not fragile. We are not soft. We are what the galaxy agreed to call survivors. Or so we believed. The Galactic Council did not argue when we arrived. They adjusted. Seats were moved. Voices lowered. Protocols rewritten. Because the Vorkai were not visitors. We were a warning with legs. And then humans arrived. The report came on a standard cycle Tuesday. I was mid-meal when my aide placed it before me. Subject line. New member species, human homeworld classification, Deathworld. I paused, then laughed. Because Deathworld is what they called us. 7.9 billion individuals. Storms that reshape continents. Ice that kills in minutes. Heat that melts steel. Oceans that crush anything that dares to enter them. And a biosphere described as aggressively competitive. But what truly caught my attention was this line. Humans have survived multiple near-extinction events, often caused by themselves. I stopped laughing. For the first time in my career, I was curious. Keth Point Station was neutral ground. Diplomatic protocols. Controlled environment. Maximum safety. We arrived expecting primitives. We prepared for inefficiency. We expected fear. We received 2 humans. Just 2. No armor. No visible weapons. No escort fleet. Just confidence. The first one introduced himself. Rook Callahan. Eyes that had seen storms and never learned to blink first. The second. Sarah Voss. Silent. Observant. The kind of mind that maps exits before introductions. They look soft. Fragile. Biologically unprotected. And yet, they walked like they owned survival itself. Rook shook my hand. One arm. Firm grip. No hesitation. And then he said something I did not expect from a primitive species. Good to meet you, Commander. Nice armor. Very intimidating. He meant it as respect. That was new. For hours later, the station failed. Pressure breach. Oxygen drop. Structural collapse warnings. Emergency alarms screaming across all decks. Panic spread instantly across non-human delegates. And the humans? Rook was gone in seconds. I found him 30 meters away, pulling a collapsed diplomat from under debris with one arm, and sealing a pressure pipe with the other. Focused. Almost bored. Sarah Voss? Already running triage. Not reacting. Calculating. Assigning survival priorities across species she had met 4 hours earlier. And she was correct. About everything. An explosion hit the corridor. Everyone flinched. Rook glanced at it and said casually, "That one's just cosmetic damage." He went back to work. Cosmetic. In a station failing under structural collapse. 40 minutes later, the crisis ended. Not because of emergency systems. Not because of trained crews. But because 2 humans stabilized a multi-species catastrophe like it was routine maintenance. That night, I did not sleep. I accessed Earth's full classification file. And I read everything. Earth did not produce apex predators. It produced survivors in training. For most of human evolution, they were not dominant. They were prey. Outgunned. Outnumbered by nature itself. And yet, they stayed. They adapted. They learned. They refused to stop. The file used a phrase that still echoes in my mind. A near-pathological refusal to accept environmental defeat. They hiked in forests filled with predators that could kill them. They sailed oceans they could not breathe. They lived through storms that destroyed entire regions. And called it life. The next morning, I found Rook in the dining hall. He was drinking something called coffee. He looked at it like it had insulted his ancestors. I asked him a question. One word. He looked at me like the answer was obvious. Where else would we go? The pause. The storms were there. The ocean was there. So we figured it out. He shrugged, then added, mostly. That sentence. Mostly. As if survival was incomplete homework. As if death itself was just a temporary inconvenience. That was when I understood. Humans do not see danger as an ending. They see it as a problem statement. I returned to my ship and wrote my report. For the first time in my career, my hands hesitated. Final assessment. Humans are not a conventional threat. They do not dominate through strength. They do not intimidate through aggression. They do not demand fear. They simply endure. And in doing so, they make everything else look temporary. Recommendation. Immediate full alliance. Extreme diplomatic caution. No attempts at dominance displays. Not because humans will retaliate, but because they will not even notice. They will simply adapt. And survive. As they always have. We called ourselves a Deathworld species. We were wrong. We were not the Deathworld species. We were just the first ones arrogant enough to think survival was rare. And then humanity arrived. And treated survival like a basic skill. Like breathing. And somewhere in the galaxy, every ancient predator finally learned the same truth. They were never the most dangerous thing in the universe. They were just the loudest. Until humans showed up quietly surviving everything. Subscribe for more.